All right, Brown family, I want to show you what we got today. Working for Jade. Sit. Today, the name of the game is all about introducing new objects. At this point, Jade is what I would consider to be reasonably well force-fetched. At least well force-fetched to the stick that we've been using. And now the objective is we want to go ahead and teach her that fetch means pick up whatever. So today what we're going to do is we're going to start heel, sit. We're going to start with her force fetch stick, which she's been seeing. So the idea is she'll have this. She knows exactly what to do with this. She's done it 1,000 times. Then we're going to go up to a regular white bumper, which she has picked up a bunch. So again, should be some familiarity. Should be very similar to her force fetch stick. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go up to a Dockin, one of the foam retriever dummies that are a little more duck-like. You know, they're weighted and they have a foam grip in the middle. And then the coup de grace is to pick up an actual bird. This is a blue-winged teal that's frozen, so it's pretty hard. So it has, again, more of a dummy-like feel to it than a fresh, you know, thawed bird. But it should give her a good chance to see the progression through different objects. Now, this week what we worked on with Jade is, you can see how much she wants to snatch it out of my hand, which is great. And again, I want to clarify, sit. I'm using a white bucket today to hold the other objects because it's important that we don't confuse her here. Jade understands fetch. At this point, the dog ought to understand, pick it up, get it in your mouth, and we're still using the e-collar to have her understand that pressure, the sensation, go get it. But we want her to understand that not only do I need her to fetch, but I need her to fetch when I say so. So we don't want her to necessarily just grab anything willy-nilly. We want her to understand it is when I say fetch that she needs to pick it up. So the bucket helps us clarify, we're fetching this right now, we're not fetching the stuff that's over here in the bucket. So it kind of helps her compartmentalize. So what we've done this week is worked on e-collar fetch to different places. So I can set it in front of her, fetch, good. Heel, sit, give, and she's very fine with that. At this point, I doubt I'll even have to touch her ear again. So my hand's not even near there. I'm standing without doing it. I can set the dummy on the ground, sit, fetch, good girl, give, and there I nicked on the collar when I said fetch, heel, sit, and we also made sure that she doesn't fetch until I say so. Sit, fetch, good girl, heel, sit, give, good dog. No, heel, sit, good girl, sit, fetch, heel, sit, give, good girl. So Jade loves this game. She knows, now that she understands the rules that we taught her, what the command means and how to feel that command, she definitely gets it and she likes to play this game. So since she's good with the force fetch stick, let's go up to the bumper. And again, it's critical when you're doing this to read the dog's body language. By this point in the process, you'll know whether or not you got a dog that loves to work or whether you got a dog you got to make work. And quite frankly, at this point, you may still have a dog that you got to make them do it. And that's okay. Because this can really be kind of you know, this whole process is kind of a drudgery. Heel, sit, sit, fetch, heel, sit, give, good girl, sit, fetch, heel, sit, give. So sometimes when you're going through new objects, you'll see the dog transition because they may have some resentment to the force fetch stick. They may even have some resentment to a bumper. They may not like bumpers. Some dogs are mediocre about bumpers. Sit. But once you get up to birds, you really ought to see that dog, you know, a lot more enthusiastic. You ought to see the dog looking like Jade. Jade's excited about picking up anything. She don't care. She's happy about picking up everything. But some dogs, at this point, they're like, man, do we have to do this? And they're like, wait, there's a bird. Okay. Now, Jade has never seen this in the force fetch concept. I think she's picked up a couple in the yard playfully. And so sometimes it might help to pitch it. I'm going to do this. If she doesn't fetch it right away, we'll use some fun to help her fetch to make it a little bit more enjoyable if she doesn't quite understand it. Because this is I think this is a totally new object. Fetch. Good girl. Heel. Sit. Give. Good girl. Fetch. Oh, fetch. Right here. Fetch. Fetch. Good. Yep, so this is totally new. Heel, sit, give. And just like birds, sometimes they have to get a sense for how to pick up a docking. They're wider one way than they are the other. So if a dog tries to pick it up the wide way, it's quite difficult. Jade's also kind of a smaller dog. So if she tries to pick it up the wide way, it's hard for her to get her mouth all the way around it. If they pick it up, you know, the narrow way, it's much easier. So one way you can help with that, heel, sit, is to set it, nope, heel, sit, is to set it on end like this, fetch, nope, fetch, fetch, there we go, heel, sit, give. And it's not surprising that she's struggling here a little bit to pick this thing up. This is, again, a new object. Heel, sit. And let's just give her a bumper, a toss. Sit. Jade. Broke. Not worried about it. Sometimes when a dog is here at the sit position, sit, give, they'll struggle a little bit with a new object. And that's okay. Because they're thinking about, how do I pick this up? Okay. Fetch. Good. Give. Fetch. Give. Fetch. Fetch. So what I'm doing there is I'm turning it with my hand. Here, heel, sit, give, to give her a chance to get a better grip on it. Fetch. Give. Fetch. Heel, sit, give, fetch, heel, sit, give. So there, as you can see, she got, after, you know, a half a dozen reps, she gets a lot better. Now, we've got the frozen bird. I really, really like blue-winged teal for this. In fact, every year, my little pond right here behind me, for whatever reason, the teal love this little hole. I mean, there's nothing to it, but it's just this little slough, and the teal pile in there for like 2 or 3 days a year. And when they hit that hole, I shoot a bunch of blue wings, and I keep every blue-winged teal because they're small. And so it's easier when I'm force fetching dogs to pick up blue-winged teal. Now, you can use pigeons, chuckers, full-size ducks, whatever, but I like a small duck for 2 reasons. 1, it's smaller, so it's easier for the dog to pick up. 2, it's a duck. And here's the thing, ducks smell funny. Dogs don't always like picking up an actual duck. They may pick up a pheasant or a quail or a chucker, and then they pick up a duck and go, oh, what's this? This thing smells gross. So using a duck early when they're young and using a duck when they're being force fetched helps them understand, no, this is a fetch object. It's not just a funny smelling weird bird. All right, so here, heel, sit. So we're gonna go exactly the same process as we did with the other objects. I'm gonna start right in front of her face. We'll move it to the ground, and then we'll see if we can get her to fetch it nicely. Fetch. Yeah, see, so she's like, oh, what's this? Okay, she doesn't know totally what to do with it. That's all right. Heel, sit, fetch, fetch. Good. Heel, sit, give. Again, all we had to do there when she dropped is we simply reapplied the fetch command with another collar nick, heel, sit, to help her understand, no, this is a fetch object, just the same as the stick. Fetch, good. Give, fetch, give, fetch, heel, sit, give, fetch. Come on. Atta girl. Now, fetch, fetch, heel, sit, nope, fetch, 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 good, give. Now she's getting a little bit mouthy with it, okay? If you see the dog get mouthy, heel, sit, up the pressure on the collar. So I went from a low 2 to a high 2 to get her to fetch better there. Fetch. And you can see she was like a little bit more hesitant, like, I shouldn't play with this, okay? It changes her a little bit. It helps her understand, no, fetch it. Don't screw with it, fetch it. Give, fetch. Heel, sit, give. Fetch, heel, sit, give. Fetch. Right here, fetch. Fetch. Heel, sit, give, fetch, heel, sit, give. Now, this was probably one of the most challenging days for Jade. And again, this is all totally, as always, the first day of her getting to see these objects. Good girl, here, heel, sit, nope, fetch, give, fetch, give, and we put it away. So this was all new stuff for Jade today. Heel, sit, as always, you know, kind of the first day I record for you guys so you can kind of see the process. So this is good because Jade actually learned some stuff today. Today was definitely a couple of new things for her with the fetching of an actual duck, the fetching of the dock, and those are new concepts for her, and you saw her figure that out, which leads me to believe she's never seen those really before at all. So anyway, that's how we transition the dog through new objects. We're going to work on this for another week or so, fetching objects, and then next week what I'm going to show you is how we transition from fetching these different objects into force to pile. She's rolling right along, doing great.